Every night, millions of people lie awake, not because they're stressed, not because they drank coffee too late, but because their legs simply won't let them sleep. It feels like bugs crawling under the skin or static electricity buzzing in the bones, and it doesn't stop until they get up and move. It sounds harmless. But left untreated, this condition, called restless leg syndrome, can lead to years of chronic sleep loss, rising anxiety, even heart trouble. According to Harvard researchers and the Mayo Clinic, it affects up to 14% of the population, and most don't even know they have it. And here's the worst part, the wrong treatment can actually make it worse. Let me tell you about a woman named Carol. She was 67 when she first came to see me, not for her heart, or her blood pressure, or even her knees. It was her legs. "I know it sounds silly, Doc," she said, eyes a little tired. "But my legs, they're keeping me up at night. I can't sit still. I feel like I'm going crazy." Now, I've heard a lot over the years, but when someone says they feel like they're going crazy because of their legs, I listen closely. And Carol wasn't alone. What she was describing, this strange, irresistible need to move her legs, especially at night, this tingling, crawling, jittery sensation, was something we now understand as restless leg syndrome. What makes this condition so tricky is that it hides in plain sight. You can't see it on the outside. There's no rash, no swelling. It doesn't show up on a standard blood test. But it can steal something more valuable than most people realize: sleep. Carol hadn't had a full night's rest in over 5 years. 5 years of tossing and turning, of getting up and pacing the floor at 3 a.m. just to feel some relief. And the toll it took, oh, you could see it in her face. Exhaustion, frustration, sadness. She said it was like her body was rebelling against her every time she tried to rest. Now here's what I want you to know: restless leg syndrome isn't just a nuisance. It's not in your imagination. It's not just a part of getting older. It's a real condition. A brain-based disorder, actually. And it affects millions, anywhere from 4 to 14% of adults, according to some studies. Women get it more often than men. And it tends to show up more with age. But why? Why would the legs suddenly act like they've got a mind of their own? The answer lies in a surprising place: the brain. And more specifically, in how the brain uses a mineral called iron. Now I know what you're thinking: iron? Isn't that just for anemia? Not exactly. There's a type of iron in your brain, separate from what we check for in your regular lab work. And this iron helps the brain produce a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine's like the traffic cop for your muscles. It tells them when to move, when to stop, when to relax. But when there's not enough iron in the parts of the brain that handle movement, dopamine doesn't work the way it should. That's when the brain starts sending mixed signals to the legs, signals that say, move, even when you're lying perfectly still. That's why so many people with RLS describe the same thing. They feel fine when they're walking around, but the moment they sit down or lie down, the tingling starts. The crawling. The urge. And the only thing that seems to make it better? Moving. I'll continue in the next part with what's going on deep inside the brain and what I wish more doctors understood about this condition, because not all treatments are created equal. And some can actually make things worse. Shall we keep going? Let's go back to Carol for a second. After we talked more, she told me something that really stuck with me. She said, "I thought it was just my nerves. Or maybe I was imagining it. My husband kept telling me to just relax. But the harder I tried to rest, the worse it got." That right there, that sense of doubt, of wondering if it's all in your head, is something I hear from a lot of people with RLS. And it breaks my heart, because for years they think they just have to live with it. Or worse, they start blaming themselves. The truth is, it's not in your head, but it is in your brain. Let me explain it this way. Imagine your brain as a command center, constantly sending signals to different parts of your body. Most of the time, everything runs smoothly. But in people with RLS, something short-circuits in the system. The part of the brain responsible for managing movement starts sending out what I call static, not clear instructions, but jumbled messages. You're lying down, trying to relax, and suddenly your legs start twitching, tingling, or aching. You don't want to move, but something deep inside says you have to. This is why RLS symptoms often strike hardest at night. During the day, your brain's movement circuits are busy, walking, talking, doing chores. But at night, when everything quiets down, that static gets louder. It's like turning off the TV and suddenly hearing a loud buzzing you didn't notice before. That buzzing is what people with RLS feel in their legs. And here's the tricky part. Some treatments that seem helpful at first can actually make things worse over time. You might have heard of dopamine medications, used for things like Parkinson's disease. Some doctors prescribe low doses of these to relieve RLS symptoms, and at first, they do help. But in many cases, after a few months or years, the symptoms creep back in earlier in the day, in more parts of the body, and with even more intensity. We call this augmentation. It means the treatment starts to backfire. Instead of calming the problem, it feeds it. I've seen patients fall into that trap, doing exactly what they were told, only to feel worse in the long run. And the hardest part? They think it's just the condition getting worse. But often, it's the treatment doing the damage. That's why it's so important to understand what's really going on before rushing into medication. Because there are better ways to manage RLS. Safer ways. But first, we have to stop thinking of it as a harmless quirk or an annoying habit. We have to recognize it for what it is, a real, physical, treatable condition rooted in the brain's iron and dopamine systems. And here's something else I want you to know, RLS can affect more than just sleep. When you don't sleep well night after night, it affects your mood, your memory, even your heart health. Studies have shown that people with untreated RLS are more likely to experience depression and anxiety. And honestly, that doesn't surprise me. When your body is keeping you up at night and no one seems to understand why, it's easy to feel alone, helpless, worn down. But you're not alone. And there is hope. In the next part, I'll walk you through what I look for when diagnosing RLS, why standard iron tests don't always tell the full story, and what you can start doing, naturally and safely, to start reclaiming your rest. Let's keep going, shall we? When Carol and I started digging into her symptoms, the first thing she asked was, should I get my iron checked? And that's a smart question. But here's the part that surprises a lot of people. Even if your iron levels in your blood are perfectly normal, you can still have restless leg syndrome. See, most doctors check your serum ferritin, that's the iron circulating in your bloodstream. And if that number looks fine, they'll often rule out iron as a problem. But RLS isn't about blood iron. It's about brain iron. The part of the brain that controls movement, the one responsible for producing dopamine, needs its own supply of iron to function properly. When that iron runs low, even if the rest of your body has plenty, things start to go haywire. Signals to your muscles get scrambled. The need to move takes over. And that's when RLS starts to steal your nights. Brain scans, like MRIs, have shown that people with RLS consistently have lower iron concentrations in those specific brain regions. This isn't guesswork. It's been confirmed by researchers at places like Harvard and the Mayo Clinic. That's why it's so important not to brush off symptoms just because your regular iron panel comes back normal. Now, does that mean every person with RLS should start taking iron supplements? Not exactly. Supplementing iron without knowing your ferritin levels, or without the guidance of a doctor, can be risky. Too much iron in the body can cause other problems, like liver strain or joint pain. So we need to strike the right balance. For some patients, a carefully monitored iron supplement makes a huge difference. For others, it's more about improving iron absorption from food or identifying things that block it, like calcium or certain medications. But diagnosing RLS isn't just about a test. It's about listening to what your body is trying to tell you. I usually ask patients 4 simple questions. Do you feel a strong urge to move your legs when you're resting? Does it get worse in the evening or at night? Is it relieved, even briefly, by moving your legs? Is it not easily explained by something else, like muscle cramps or arthritis? If the answer is yes to most of those, there's a very good chance it's RLS. No fancy scan needed to know you deserve answers. Carol, by the way, answered yes to all four. And once we understood the root of what was going on, not her nerves, not her imagination, but a real brain-based imbalance, something shifted. The look on her face changed. "You mean I'm not crazy?" she asked. "Not even a little," I told her. "Your body's just been trying to get your attention." And for the first time in years, she felt seen. In the final part, we'll talk about how to quiet those signals, protect your sleep, and take back control without making things worse. Ready? So, what helped Carol finally sleep again? We started small. Before any prescriptions, before jumping into complicated treatments, we looked at the basics. She increased her iron-rich foods, things like spinach, lentils, and lean meats, and we made sure she paired them with vitamin C so her body could actually absorb the iron. She cut back a little on caffeine, especially in the afternoon, and stayed away from alcohol before bed. Just those few changes made her nights a little easier. But the biggest difference? Understanding. Carol finally knew what was happening in her body. That it wasn't weakness or aging or something she had to suffer through quietly. It was Restless Legs Syndrome, a real neurological condition, and once she understood that, she stopped blaming herself. Now, for some people, low-dose iron therapy under medical supervision can help restore balance in the brain. For others, calming bedtime routines, gentle stretches, or a warm bath before sleep can take the edge off that buzzing sensation. Magnesium, if you're low, may also help calm muscle nerves. And in more advanced cases, there are medications, but they need to be chosen carefully, with someone who truly understands the risks of augmentation. The point is, you don't have to just live with it. I've seen people regain their peace just by knowing where to start. And if you're one of those people lying awake at night, legs twitching, feeling alone, please know, you're not alone. Millions of people are quietly suffering, and many of them still don't have a name for what they're going through. But you do now. You have a name. You have a reason. And most importantly, you have options. So let me leave you with this: sleep is not a luxury. It's your body's reset button. It affects your mood, your memory, your immune system, your entire life. And anything that robs you of it deserves to be taken seriously. If you've been battling this quietly, I see you. And if this helped you understand even a little bit more about what your body is trying to tell you, then I hope you'll take the next step. Talk to someone. Ask questions. Don't settle for just getting older as the answer. Because your health and your sleep matter. Now, if you find this helpful, give it a thumbs up. If not, type 0 in the comments, but if it helps, let us know by typing 1. And don't forget to subscribe for more life-saving health tips. Take care of yourself. Your body and your brain deserve nothing less.